This is the end. For all of you.
Mario is Paul Karen's bodyguard, but after failing to protect him, Mario became the vigilante named Rumor on the side. He is a man driven by revenge who will do whatever it takes to keep the villains out of the picture, even if it means killing them. Rumor ultimately serves as another dark reflection of Batman, much like Wrath and Scorn. The difference between Rumor and them though, is that Rumor goes after the villains, while Wrath and Scorn go after do-gooders. With Rumor having the motive that he does, it makes him more similar to Batman, which in turn further cements the idea of Rumor being Batman's dark reflection. With that brief summary out the way, let me quickly go ahead and talk about the episode that I'll be going over and discuss how I'll break it down. The episode we'll be looking at today is titled Rumors. Again, fitting, isn't it? Now, there will be some skips within the episode itself, but like always, that's just for the sake of staying focused on our villain of the day. And with that said, let's dive right into Rumors. The episode starts with Rumor fighting and capturing Killer Croc and then bringing him back to the warehouse that Rumor has turned into a prison. It's during this scene where we get our first look at some of the other villains that Rumor has captured, such as Clue Master, Mr. Freeze, the Kabuki Twins, Spellbinder, and so on. What this tells us is, Rumor is a seriously skilled fighter, as even Batman struggled when fighting some of these villains for the first time. Even if he did fight dirty, coming out victorious over a metahuman such as Mr. Freeze is one hell of a feat. We even later see that he's captured Poison Ivy, another metahuman. But now, skipping ahead, Rumor goes after Catwoman and Penguin and successfully catches them both after a short fight with Batman and Robin. Skipping ahead yet again, back at Rumor's warehouse, Rumor tells the villains that he sentenced them all to life and that the sentencing will be short, implying their deaths. However, he tells them that before he can carry out their sentencing, he needs to grab one more person. We then find out who the last villain is after Paul Karen tells the story of how he met Batman. The mystery villain is none other than the Joker. He was the one who maimed Paul, and he was also the one who indirectly created Rumor. This is another piece of that dark reflection I was talking about, as Bruce took what happened to him and turned it into something positive, ultimately using the aggression he felt and feels for a greater cause, while Mario, on the other hand, took what happened to him and turned it into something negative, ultimately becoming blinded by his aggression. So much so that he created a murderous alter ego named Rumor. Skipping ahead yet again, Rumor tracks Joker down, and after a short fight with Joker's men, Rumor successfully captures the Joker. Now, before I go any further, I want to add that there are some scenes of Rumor out of his guise, being the bodyguard that he is known to be. Within these scenes, we're shown how protective he is over Paul. What these scenes ultimately tells us is, Rumor genuinely cares for Paul and his well-being, which is why I didn't bring it up before. We could already assume he cared for Paul, considering he based his crusade off what happened to him. So, with all that said, let's skip ahead again. After being assisted by Paul, Batman finds the warehouse that Rumor has been using as a prison. Batman then tells Rumor that even Paul thinks that he's crossing a line, to which Rumor responds with, "Maybe it was a line you should have crossed sooner, Batman." A fight would then be initiated between Batman, Robin, and Rumor. During said fight, Batman punches Rumor into his machine, where Rumor accidentally sets free every one of Gotham's supervillains in the process. Rumor then begs Batman to save him from all of the villains, which Batman does. What we can take from this is that even though Rumor fought and captured the villains to kill, he's still afraid of them, and in turn is afraid of dying. Rumor is then hoisted into the air while Batman and Robin fight all of the villains. After dispatching of all of the villains, Rumor is then arrested, and while being placed in the transfer van, Rumor tells the police that they are the criminals, not him. The takeaway from this is that even after everything, Rumor still fully believes that he's in the right and that what he was doing was far from injustice. But regardless of his mindset, that would be the last time we ever saw Rumor. Something I want to bring up before moving on to everything else is what Hugo Strange told Rumor before Batman and Robin arrived.
You're trying to erase your own failure of not saving your boss.
Hugo perfectly hits the nail on the head with this remark. The crusade of Rumor wasn't to make Gotham a better place. It was built on the foundation of Mario's guilt, and because of that, the crusade of Rumor was fueled by blind anger and a tad bit of self-hatred, which ultimately left Rumor fighting on the wrong side of justice. But now, moving off of the life and personality of Rumor and onto his design and voice actor. Rumor's design, are you ready for this? Is actually fairly simple, but extremely effective. It's not meant to be a flashy, colorful outfit like the design for Maxi Zeus. It's meant to be rather simplistic, similar to the simplicity of Payback's design in Batman Beyond, which I've done a video on. And if you haven't already, you should go check that video out after this video. But back to my point, just like Payback's design, Rumor's design was made perfectly for him. And now we'll move on to Rumor's voice actor, with that being Ron Perlman, who yes, also voiced Killer Croc within this same series. Ron Perlman also played Reinhardt in Blade 2, as well as Slade in Teen Titans. And just like with Killer Croc, Reinhardt, and Slade, Ron Perlman brought so much life to the character of Rumor. He truly never ceases to amaze. So again, for the second time, huge shout out to Ron Perlman. And with all that said, this has been the Repentant Revenge of Rumor. If you made it this far into the video, comment down your favorite one-off character from The Batman. I always love to hear y'all's opinions. Also, like always, huge shout out to Mercenary X84 for still being a member. Thank you so much for sticking by and supporting me. And the same goes for each and every one of you. Thank you all so much for the support, love, and patience. I truly appreciate every bit of it. But with my ramblings finally out the way, it's been ugly, and I'll see y'all in the next one.